Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we've got a little bit of a shorter one, although I always say that, and then we always end up going for just as long as we do normally. But today we're going to talk about a brand new thing that's come up called Warhammer 40,000 Gladius, or Gladius, I've heard it pronounced both ways, I go with Gladius, Relics of War, which is a little bit unwieldy as video game titles go, but let's face it, Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War 2 Retribution doesn't exactly roll off the tongue either, but we're fine with that. So we're just going to stick with calling it Relics of War. I think that'd be easier, quicker, and just more comprehensible all round. So this is actually a 4X strategy game, which makes me excited. I realise that being excited about a Warhammer 40k game these days is fraught with danger, because the IP seems to have just been, you know, thrown liberally to whoever can make something with it. But I've actually got a little bit of a good feeling about this one, and that's for a couple of reasons. Okay, so firstly, a 4X game that's 40k based, I should have no reason to not work. It's pretty much perfect for it, and it's always been one of those things where I've thought to myself, well, we've had third-person stuff, we had Fire Warrior, we've had various strategy games, but no 4X, and I feel like the universe is suited to a 4X game. Well, now someone's actually making a 4X game. One of the reasons that I'm a little bit optimistic, a little bit hopeful, is that this is from the publisher Slytherin, and they're working with Proxy Games. Now, Slytherin are responsible for Warhammer 40,000 Armageddon and Sanctus Reach. Even if you're not a big fan of those style of games, which, to be honest, I'm kind of not. I'm just not really into that kind of tile-based strategy game. It's not really for me. I prefer a much more all-encompassing thing, like, I was going to say like Civ and stuff. I know that's tile-based as well, but you get what I mean. There's a whole development aspect of that. There's a whole economic aspect, all of that stuff that, you know, just tile-based strategy doesn't have. But having spent a bit of time with both of those games, at the very least, I can't complain about the stability or like the construction of those games. They were pretty solidly built. I never had any issues in terms of crashing or glitches or bugs or whatever. They were pretty solidly made, even if the actual style wasn't for me. Proxy Studios, I actually hadn't heard of until I had a quick look at their website, and it turns out they're responsible for Pandora First Contact, which was one of those games that I think someone sent that to me, and I had a little play of it, and it was one of those things where I've not heard of this. What is this? Play a bit. Oh wow, this is actually really good. I properly enjoyed Pandora, and it got a really good reception from a lot of strategy sites. So I think it's in pretty solid hands, to be honest. I think we could actually, maybe, possibly, be onto a winner. Now, you can see there's a trailer that's sort of playing on the side. I'll probably just loop it throughout the video. And you can play, just in case you can't see it from the trailer, which I'll also link in the description, obviously, Space Marines, Orcs, Imperial Guard, and Necrons, which is a really nice change of pace. We always get to play Space Marines, we always get to play Orcs. Imperial Guard, usually we have a little bit of, at least a cameo from the Imperial Guard. Necron's getting a prime spot, like a big 4 spot in a game. I like that. I do like that a lot. Necrons are a really interesting faction, especially since they've had a lot of their fluff kind of messed with. It'd be interesting to see that taken on properly in video game form, to be honest. I know a lot of people, I know there are people who don't like the change to fluff for the Necrons. I'm sort of middling on it. I did like the kind of, you know, metallic, robotic, endless horde of just skeletal, soulless guys tramping across the earth and wrecking everything in sight in silence and being completely incomprehensible. I did quite like that, like the mindless automaton thing. But I have to admit that in a universe where you've already got something that is approaching the mindless automaton thing in the form of Tyranids, although obviously with a hive mind it's a little bit different, I do kind of see why it was changed a little bit so Necrons had a bit more personality, or at least a bit more in the way of different personalities. Let's face it, you can still play them as mindless automatons if you like, it's entirely up to you. But yeah, it's nice to see Necrons actually taking centre stage and being right, like straight in there as the base part of a game. I do like that. As it says in the article, I will also link below, storylines, tech trees, units and heroes for every single race, and they will all interact with enemies and allies differently, which is an interesting thing to say. Proxy Studios has specified that, which is kind of cool. They're not saying what the differences are, which you wouldn't expect them to. That's going to be a surprise for later on down the line, no doubt, but I do like the idea of that. Actually having proper different flavours for each of them is important, and it looks like Proxy Studios is doing exactly that. And it's interesting because it's mentioned there's like a hint of RPG in there, like quests and hero units and stuff with special abilities that rank up. That's interesting. I like the inclusion of that because I'm very much I do like a bit of RPG smattered into my strategy games. You know, as long as there's not too much backflipping going on. Look, I'm one of those people who didn't like Dawn of War 3. You've probably picked up on that at some point by now. I just didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of it. It wasn't even like the graphic style and stuff. I know people had issues with the graphic style. The graphic style didn't bother me too much. I just didn't like the game. The game itself was the problem for me. And when it's that fundamental, that's a problem. Also, there was a horrendous bug. I streamed it when it was released. There was a god-awful bug where units would just stop responding to orders and just run endlessly to wherever you last sent them. That was not good. That was not a good first experience. Anyway, this isn't the Dawn of War 3 review video. We're talking about Relics of War and how it could actually be decent. One thing that I was a little concerned about when I first saw this, I did think to myself, well, hang on. The last game that Slytherin put out that was 40k was Sanctus Reach, and there's been like an expansion to that as well, I think. Maybe 2 at this point. And there was no proper multiplayer. It was like an email system. So you took your turn, and then you were like, yes, inform my opponent, I've taken my turn. Then they got an email, took their turn, and went, yes, inform my opponent, I've taken my turn. And it was that back and forth. For a 4X, that would be absolutely garbage, and I would be beyond annoyed if that was the case. To be honest, I was annoyed it was in Sanctus Reach. I get that implementing full-on multiplayer is, you know, might be a bit of a challenge for a smaller publisher or a smaller studio, but it's 40k. It's 40k. Come on, don't have the whole basis of the tabletop is playing other people. Don't put a bloody email system in. It's just daft. But it's fine. It's fine because there will be actual proper just live multiplayer. So players can work together or work against each other, and it's proper live turn-based. It's no email nonsense, which I thank you for that, because Jesus Christ, it's 2017. We are not living in the time where people used to play chess by post. That's not how things work anymore. I do like the line as well, the inclusion, that just like in single player, however, they'll need to worry about the hostile world itself, along with its dangerous wildlife. So that's kind of cool. It's not just going to be the other factions you have to deal with. You're going to have to deal with the world itself, which is always a treat. It is, after all, 40k, and every world has got something horrible on it somewhere. Probably. There's the occasional one that hasn't, but most of them have. As it points out, there is a closer look at the game in action when the developers stream it on Twitch, December 1st, 7 PM GMT. Whatever that is in your time zone, 7 PM GMT, if you go to Twitch, and I will again link it down in the description, you can have a look at the developers stream when they do that, 1st of December. So I'm going to tune into that because I want to see this in action. I am, as I say, I'm cautiously hopeful, cautiously optimistic. I feel like Proxy Studios and Slytherin are a fairly decent choice for this. They've both got experience when it comes to strategy. They've both got it, well, Slytherin has got experience when it comes to 40k, but yeah, I mean, Proxy are responsible for a decent strategy game that I did quite enjoy, having known nothing about it, and it was fairly well received. So I think we might be maybe onto a winner. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Have a look at the links that I've put down there. There's the article itself, there's the trailer. I'll also link to Proxy Studios' website so you can see what else they've done. And I'll obviously link to the Twitch page for them so that you can have a look at that on the 1st of December if you want to. And if not, then don't. It's entirely up to you. Anyway, 4x 40k game. Quality, hopefully. For the love of God, please. Just please make it good. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. You excited at the prospect of this? You've been burned too many times. Was Dawn of War 3 just a horrendous pile of nonsense? That should be interesting. Sort of people out. Also Dawn of War 2 was the best Dawn of War game. Fight me, comments. Fight me. Dawn of War 2 is the best one. Thank you very much for watching. Click all the other stuff. I'll see you for the next one. Toodaloo.